and you got up here and you've got 2 minutes to talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about, or any of the consent agenda items as well. But just know at 2 minutes, buzzer's going to go off, and as everybody who regularly visits these meetings know, I'll start to say things like, thank you, thank you, thank you, which is otherwise your cue. You're done for that point. So don't think I'm being rude. Everyone gets the same 2 minutes. So just keep that in mind, please.
Mayor Stewart's not allowed to have any cards.
He gets 1 minute. Mayor Stewart gets 1 minute.
Thank you.
See all that rest. I'm feeling feisty here. But... All right. Public participation. Let's start with Katie McGivern, followed by Susan Ona.
Katie McGivern, 2121 Collier Avenue. Happy New Year. That city-created blight of a dumping ground on Lake Osborne Drive is unacceptable. In spite of my neighborhood's patience, the site is getting worse, not better. We will now treat you, the city, like you treat us, the taxpayers. Unless you have that eyesore hidden behind a fence within a month, my neighborhood is going to start fining you, the city of Lake Worth, $250 per day. If you can impose fines on an elderly couple that has a brown spot in their lawn, we can impose this on you. Maybe anyone coming before a special magistrate for code fines should just state that they don't accept this quasi-judicial mumbo-jumbo and demand a jury trial by their peers. We need a city commission made up of people who truly are representatives, people who operate in the sunshine, not behind closed doors, like our city attorney Glenn Torsivia did when he tried to get other municipalities to participate in the destruction of John Prince Park at the altar of corporate greed. Even I, a registered Republican, can recognize naked greed when it hits me in the face.
This is directed towards me if you can.
We Lake Worth citizens now have 2 minutes a month to speak publicly to our commissioners. We the people who now have count them, 2 whole minutes a month to speak. Private phone conversations or emails are not the same thing as speaking to our concerns to you commissioners in public. This commissioner has canceled more meetings than any other commission in our history, and no, these meetings cancellations have never, despite what narrative our city clerk might try to put forward, have never been allowed in our past. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGivern. Next, Susan Ona, followed by Barbara Ogle. Nice signs.
Good evening. My name is Susan Ona at 826 North Palmway. I'm here to announce that we have our information center in Lake Worth starting as of today, and it was a wonderful experience to be there and to come with after a little bit of a rocky road. It all kind of started with kind of out of the Parrot Cove with the cottages, and the people that were working with volunteers there decided that we have such a great city that we need to have information center to get more information out about the town and make people more aware, because we have so many good things happening. In any event, with the help of Andy Amoroso, we got going. We started working with the city, and we got things arranged, and with the help of the city manager and Zelina and all the customer service department today at the city annex, Donna with customer service. Everyone was wonderful, and we were able to set it up, and we're there working. We've got a desk and chairs and a wonderful bunch of signs and maps and brochures and information, and we hope to be of a service to the town. So to give information and personal contact to visitors and to our residents. And today I think I did answer about 15 questions from people who came by, and so they were a lot happier as they moved about the utilities department. So welcome. We would like to invite all of you to come to our grand opening on Friday. It's a little soon, but we want to start in advertising people and let them come, and we're going to have a little ribbon cutting ceremony. We hope you'll all be there at 10 o'clock on Friday at the City Hall Annex. Diana was one of our major people in starting this, and I kind of took it over from her, but it was her baby, and then I decided to move on with it. But she's been wonderful volunteer, along with my husband here and Walter Harper, who gave us the idea of the big eye back there, which we put together. We're going to put that up as the way to know where to find the information center. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Alden, followed by Peter Tim.
Peter, lost my flipping mind. Barbara Oval, 422 South Chase Street. Haven't been here in a while, so I got a little, flustered. I'm here to ask about, we have the Street Painting Festival coming up, and I've got a pet peeve with the city. We send all our citizens and residents and visitors that come to our city during that time down 2nd Avenue South. Any of you that have traveled down 2nd Avenue South know that it's one of the worst streets in the city. There are more than 150 potholes between Dixie Highway and J Street. That's one block. One block. That's like, it's just literally a patchwork of filled-in holes. If we can't, between now and Street Painting Festival, do something about 2nd Avenue South, then please don't use 2nd Avenue South as the pass-through in our neighborhood. It's an embarrassment to show our wonderful city off with the most horrible street in the city. Last year, there was code enforcement stuff there. It was horrible. It's really an embarrassment for all these citizens and all these residents and all these Palm Beachers and people that want to come to our beach to come to the city, have to go around the detour, be uncertain about that, and then we put them on 2nd Avenue South with a million potholes. It's an embarrassment. Please do something between now and the Street Painting Festival. I mean, I know there's money somewhere. I know there's not a lot of money for streets and roads, but if this is truly, look at 2nd Avenue North. It's lovely. Make 2nd Avenue South, if that's going to be our eastbound pass-through for visitors, please make that as lovely as the visitors coming from the east. Thanks.
Thank you. Peter Tim?
I see you, Mr. Tim.
Peter Tim, North Low Street. And yes, Bob Rabel has led me right into what I'm going to talk about. We just lost the bond issue by a few votes, so I'm quite sure you people are going to try to put it on the next ballot and try to get a few people to vote for it so that we can pass. I disagree. I don't want that because I don't feel you people have told the people the truth. I don't feel that way. When you say that some people will pay a little less and some people will pay a little more, I don't think that was honest. I think honest would be some people will pay nothing and others will pay thousands of dollars. And the people paying the thousands of dollars are now our biggest taxpayers. And we're just going to load them up with taxes. And boy, are we happy about that. You should not be. Also, you said this is the only way we can finance this as a general obligation bond. That is what's also wrong. It could be put on the non-ad valorem taxes. Everybody that got this sees it right there under the ad valorem taxes, where the things that can be put on the ad valorem taxes. And guess what is number one? Roads. Can you imagine that? And you said, oh, we can do it. I think you could not do what you wanted to do, which is siphon money off the roads to be brought into other projects besides the roads. And for that, you would have needed the general obligation bond. So I'm going to ask you people to please be truthful with your citizens and tell them what we can and can't do. And if you want to come back and say, oh, we can't put on because this, that, and the other thing, I think you're a lot smarter than me because I can see it on writing where it says you can. So please think of this. There is more to come next week because with the non-ad valorem taxes, we are in much better shape. So that will come in like next 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Could you address that, please, City Manager? We have before, but I want you to do it again if you could.
Let me let the attorney who knows the law, we're going to say the same thing, but I wanted to come from Lynn and his years of experience as an attorney to explain to Mr. Tim. And Mr. Tim, I want you to listen to this completely this time. We've explained this several times.
Almost impossible to do the non-ad valorem taxes, the assessment. It's almost impossible to do that because each project is so different. It's not like a standard for paving just Dixie Highway from point A to point B. There's dozens or hundreds of streets. So I know we're having a workshop on, I think, the 27th to talk about financing options. So we'll talk about all those options. I'll look at that again, but the last time I looked at it, it's just not a viable option.
Speak into the microphone.
When developments or PUDs or taxing entities that have the ability to put on a tax, that's what's referred to on that tax bill.
Which is different.
Can you explain to him that that's what that language is?
Why don't I speak to Mr. Tim?
Okay.
No, say it on the record,
well,
please.
Because again, as the manager just said, if you're doing a planned unit development and you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna tax everybody within this one unit, this much money to build all the roads in this little unit, that's one thing. That's completely different than what we're talking about here in terms of the entire city, streets all over the city, roads all over the city.
So currently, a new planned development that was built in the last 20 years, say one of the big developments up at PG or somewhere, if they taxed the residents in that development to build the road system, that's where that would get used on the tax bill?
It's no different than a homeowner association or a condo association. You know, you're gonna pay your, that's probably the best analogy, you're gonna pay your association fees, and those are taxing districts created for that little development, that little planned unit development, as opposed to the entire city. It's just,
And that's why that
apples and
language is
oranges.
on the tax bill.
That's the taxing district then.
That's why that language is on the tax bill.
Okay. All right, thank you. I agree with Ms. Albel, and I know I've talked to you about Second Avenue South, last street painting festival, and I know that, you know, at least, have we patched and done it, have we patched that whole stretch, or is it still?
I just sent an email, we'll go back through and see what we can do before the street painting festival.
Okay, thank you.
But it's a
Oh, I'm sorry, I have one more card. Daryl Lilla Morgan.
Yeah.
Yes, please, sorry, excuse me. Come on up. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm here today for my street, 16 South Johnson Street. I've been complaining about this street for the past 4 years. Like, which is considered the front of my building, is on this side. So the front is a garage. And for the past 4 years, I don't know who had, I think everybody here as official might know me, because I tried to ask everyone for help just to clean up before a vacant property that is the front, would consider the front of my building. I said, I have a machete, I have a hoe, and I will get a longer pants and go there and clean it up if I get the authority to clean it. Because I never go in a mess, and it's surprised I can't even invite anyone there, not even my children. Because they said, why would you want to come and live at this place? All I'm dealing with is raccoon and all sorts of wild animals. I just want the authority to play a man and a woman and clean up the front of my place. That's all I want.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The address of that is 1611 South Johnson Street?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. I have not, just for the record, I have not received any complaints or phone calls. Have you received?
I've worked with this lady, yes, and I spoke with city manager, Wade Waters, and I think we communicated, this has a code case on it, and I don't think that code case has come to conclusion. And I'm not sure, is William in the building?
Yeah, he should hear this.
Yeah, I kind of got the impression that we were going to get some resolution on some level, and this was several months ago. So I'm a little surprised, I'm sorry that it's still going on, but I know exactly which property she's talking about. It needs to be boarded up. There's a little garage or shed in the back that needs to be boarded up. It needs to be trashed out, cut down, and I was under the impression that we were getting close to seeing that through.
Is it on the list of properties that we got back?
I'll have to check.
If you could please, yeah, that's ridiculous. We'll look into it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other follow-up questions?
Comments?
Comments? Vice Mayor?
Just to go over a couple things. Again, I hope we'll be able to do something with Second Avenue South. I don't know what it would be, but I think we're going to start seeing more and more folks coming forward with specific projects that they want to see done, and we're going to find ourselves in more and more of a pressure situation to deal with them on a one-on-one basis. So I really hope that we can, get some benefit out of this workshop that we're having here on financing for the bond going forward. We've got to come up with some answers as a collective here on how we can get these things funded, because we thought things were bad last year with potholes, coming up every time it rained. Well, it's going to continue to rain, and it's going to continue to get worse, and we just really got to figure out a way to make these things happen. Mr. Tim, I hope that you'll come to the workshop with your ideas on how to finance this bond or whatever monies we need to put together. And I invite the others in the room here. I see Ms. Anderson and others. I hope you'll come and bring your suggestions as well.
When is the meeting?
I think you're going to make the announcement. Is it the 27th?
Yes.
It's been confirmed. Has it been confirmed with?
Yes, it has been confirmed with all elected officials.
Okay.
Yes, it's 6 o'clock at the Compass Center on January 27th to hear the public's ideas and their input on financing the infrastructure.
And I believe we're going to
probably have a second workshop on a Saturday.
We're going to follow-up meeting to that. Will
Yes.
be like on the 11th of
That has been scheduled.
The follow-up meeting is Saturday at 1 o'clock on February 21. Again, to discuss the outcome of this meeting on the 27th.
To accommodate people with different work hours.
Right.
So you have a weekend and a weekday.
And Mike, you and I talked about this at length yesterday about how we're going to communicate this to the community. And I guess we'll put some of the tactics and things we're going to use to get the word out.
Well, we had a list of people who contacted the city over the last year regarding infrastructure issues. So we have a database there of people we're going to reach out to directly. We have advertisements going out in the paper. I think we're doing also some flyers.
We're doing press releases. We're going to certainly reach out to
Do
the
some
neighborhood. We're going to reach out to John to reach out to his neighborhood associations, encouraging people to bring their ideas forward.
We needed to get the first date nailed down with y'all, and that just occurred today, I guess, the last schedule. So the date's been set.
Yes, all dates have been set.
If you can please include all the radio stations, television stations for the press releases, because you know, a lot of people that live here don't come to these meetings all the time, and they really need to be touched in the medium that they, you know, not the ones that we just think that they see all of them. And I think the radio stations would share that in their newscasts and whatnot, since considering we just had a bond issue as well, they might at least talk about it.
Absolutely. And I think it might be helpful when we communicate this, that we keep in mind that maybe we encourage folks to bring any documentation they may have with their suggestions. If they think that there's a funding mechanism over here, that they bring whatever documentation, contact information, background information, so we can do the proper research when people bring up their ideas forward. Does that make sense to you, City Manager?
Yes, sir.
We've had a lot of interest. I mean, we've gotten emails from people with suggestions, and some things are, you know, obviously it's hard when you're in government and you know certain things can't be done, and it's hard to explain from, you know, in easy terms on why things can and can't be done based on the rules and regulations and policies. But some things can, some things are really interesting. I've gotten some really interesting ideas for some ideas for financing. This isn't going to be us talking, so you know, this is about you expressing your feelings in in a complaint format. We don't need to rehash the problem. We all know we've got roads that need fixing and whatever. It's to come to the table with your ideas and your solutions that you have, and for us to just sit and have a conversation about it. So don't expect us to be sitting there giving you a lot of talk. This is about you, and you know, we'll give you the facts and the justifications for why things happen if you have asked questions about it. But other than that, I think that it's a good starting ground for it, and I hope everyone tells their neighbors and friends that are interested in this to please come on out, because I'd love it to be a real proper representation of all the neighborhoods and all the communities, because it's funny, people sometimes get involved or think they know after the fact that it's down to the wire and you're voting on something and you don't know what the whole story, how did this come about? Well, we were talking about it for 2 years. But if you're not involved in this kind of thing on a regular basis, you don't know. So please share with your neighbors and get people out there, because this is really important. And the first questions here, when we came back from the failure of the bond issue, the first people that got up and spoke said, so how are we going to fix the roads? That was the first thing out of people's mouths right after the bond issue failed. So it's not going away, it's not getting better, and we've got to address it. We can't run from this and push it under the rug. It's got to be taken care of. So we look forward to your help and a sparkling 2015 with no holes in the road. Commissioner Zerdy?
Thank you, Mayor. I think you're talking about trying to come up with some level of fairness versus the need in an area versus the ability to contribute pay. those are all variables there that take a lot of contribution on the citizens' parts to help us ferret that out. Yeah, there are going to be people who don't pay into the system because if it's based on some taxes, but there might be some methods that you might suggest so people do feel a sense of contribution and participation in improving the city, because it certainly has not been a proper part of the budget over the years. And if it had been part of the proper budget, we would have been able to kept up with it. And it's taken a long time to get to where it's at. So creativeness and financing should be a level of trying to figure what's fair. And we all have different opinions of what's fair. And then also on those 2 dates that we have coming up, if you can't make those meetings, at least you will still accept some kind of written information or some other levels that you could participate in as well. I'd like to hear from you if you have things that you want to email us or as well, and you can't make those meetings, by all means communicate with us in some other fashion, some other way, or give us even just a phone call. So, and I certainly appreciate the information center idea. That's a void that's been there for the city since the chambers had issues and moved away. So I'm very happy to hear about that and look forward to going in there and seeing you all.
City Manager, what is the property that Ms. McGivern was talking about?
There's a construction site on Lake Osborne right near the animal hospital. Is that where it is? And the contractor's gone kind of haywire. As a matter of fact, I just have an email today from Mayor Johnson, the Water Utilities suspending operations on the site because of the conditions and forcing them to correct. So it is something that we're aware of. It's something that's unacceptable. It's something that staff's taking action on, so we hope to have it resolved shortly.
Okay, excellent. That was something we talked about in the end of last year too, you know, we can't be out enforcing all of these things and giving people code violations for things when we ourselves are not, you know.
Well, it's a
We
construction.
can't, you know, the talk the talk, walk the walk.
It's a construction site. Let's be.
Okay.
But stuff, regardless of the amount of time, putting activities there that involve construction, there's an acceptable amount of activity that would be expected. What they're doing though is unacceptable. They're dumping a bunch of sand there. It's pretty.
Well, we spent a lot of hard work creating all these new ordinances and rules and regulations to try to keep stuff like this happening. So let's see it working in this new year. Thank you for taking care of that. Vice Mayor?
Is it possible to strongly encourage the contractor to put up some sort of a visual barrier? It's very common in construction sites to have a barrier, a visual barrier.
In the contract, before we executed it, would have been the time to put those kinds of stipulations in it.
Oh, so okay.
It's underway.
Well, let me go back then. Do we have recourse for this with these folks?
We've suspended operations on the site until we get this resolved. We're going after them. It's unacceptable.
Is that going to
I need to have a conversation with my staff, the attorney.
Will that hurt them in the pocketbook is my question.
I'm not going to comment at this
Okay.
point. It's contractual.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you. Alrighty. Oh, Commissioner McCoy?
Yeah, thank you. A couple of things. I'm concerned, Ms. Morgan, about your situation, and I guess I have a certain level of frustration, probably shared by all of us up here, that I don't think, although yours sounds like it's particularly bad, I think that there are many people around the city who could point to situations where there's stuff that just doesn't make sense, at least from a resident point of view. Why is it allowed to be as bad as it is? And Mayor, I think you just pointed out that we passed, quite a series of ordinances to try to. Our understanding was that we put the tools in place, that we worked carefully with the legal team, with PBSO, and yet it seems like there's still a lot of stuff that just, as the city manager says, is unacceptable. He was applying to different cases. I just hope that whatever the holdup is, whatever it is that's keeping us from moving it forward, we figure that out and at the staff level and move things along faster, because it really is very discouraging to people around town. And I think they've heard from us, oh yes, we put the tools in place, but if they don't see any action, it's not good. A little bit of a question for the city attorney in answering Peter Tim's question of why can one not use certain methods of funding, and the explanation that I heard, and this is for my own edification and hopefully for all of us as residents, was that, well, if you are fixing things within a small fixed area, then you can tax for that all of the folks that live within that area, such as a planned unit development or perhaps some other units that I'm taxing districts. But is not a city a taxing district? And what is the cutoff on size? Maybe the answer is partly that, well, if you're fixing all the roads equally within the subject area, then you can charge for it. And we probably aren't doing that, because some roads are better, some roads are worse. But it seems like the argument that well, it's an area of a certain size and it's okay, but it's an area of a different size and it's not. But cities come in all sorts of sizes. There are small cities, there are big cities. There are probably cities that are smaller than some planned unit developments, and vice versa, in terms of area. So help me understand.
Well, you kind of hit the nail on the head in that every street is different. It's a different level of complexity. It's one thing to pay, you know, a $50,000 job where the street next door is getting a $2 million or whatever the numbers are makeover. So when we went through this, you know, trying to figure out how do you fairly assess everybody through this planning and development process. But I said, I'll look at it again. You know, I mean, I did that research several months ago. I'll look at it again and see if there's a way to do it, because I know at the workshop you want as many options as possible. Last time I looked at it, I just didn't see how it could be viable, but we'll look at it one more time.
Well, it has, the one thing that I remember you said, Glenn, is that it hasn't been done anywhere else in the country.
Right, not to this kind of a...
For that level, doesn't mean that it
again,
can't
it's
be.
one thing to build a development all at one time. We're going to build 10 streets, and they're all going to be, you know, 12 feet wide and 18 feet long, and everybody on the street's going to be assessed the same amount of money. Here, we have such a diverse issue. Some streets are dirt. Some streets just need, you know, a thin layer. Some need complete reconstruction. But I'll look at it again.
Well, and also along those lines, when we had those discussions, I represent District 3, and we've already had the discussions that District 3 would end up paying more for other sides of the city, and we had the discussions that, you know, someone living in District 3 would say, you know, I don't visit the west side. Why am I paying for the west side? Why am I being billed for the west side? So, you know, those were some of the conversations that we had, that why this would not work. You know, if you can find other reasons that, you know, the east side could not sue the west side because they're not using those streets. I don't use those streets, I don't go to the west side, why should I have to pay for it?
Interestingly enough, though, that's probably the reason why these projects were never done to begin with.
Absolutely.